Surprise, surprise, more rust repair on the Cushman. All right guys, so we're back on the rusty Cushman project and we've got most of the major, really scary rust done. We took care of this other front corner last time, showed you guys some of the tools and things that I like to use for doing these repairs. Today what we're tackling is the rust. We're going to turn our focus to all this rust that's along the bottom edge. There's big sections where the rolled wire edge is all rotted out. Water basically gets down, trapped in here, and with this thing I found it like in a swampy field. It sat in the dirt and it's rotten along the bottom edges where it got dirt and mud trapped in there. So what we're going to be doing is basically I'm going to take it back to where the rust is kind of where I see pinholes. And we're going to do roughly something like this, but the metal starts to get really thin up in here. And to make our lives easier so that we're not trying to weld the really thin rusty metal or rustier metal, we're going to actually kind of dive up like this and then bring it back down. Something like that. So that's what our repair is going to look like for this side, and then we'll jump over and do a similar thing to the other side. All right, so we drew a line on here. One thing we got to take note of is there is a vertical brace right here, and there's also a horizontal brace right about here. So we're cutting this. We don't want to go super deep with a cutoff wheel and cut through any of our bracing. We're trying to just peel that skin off and retain this brace and any other bracing that's around it. So it looks like my line's here, the brace is there. This line here, I'm just gonna have to be careful right there where we're cutting. The brace is about that wide. Then we should be good to clean that all up once we get it cut out. All right, so we got this piece cut out here and we can see what we're working with. Some little collateral damage we had right here. This must have had a little crack in the corner, and as we were hammering down on it with the seam splitter, it actually opened the crack up, and this brace here, we need to V out that crack, weld it up, and obviously get it in position, but V out the crack, weld it up, and then that will be good to go. And that's just part of working on this old stuff. You find hidden damage when you cut things open. Like it never happened. So a neat little trick if you guys are trying to transfer shape and you can't get to the backside to trace it on like we have the bracing here, is you can use like a dirty glove or dirty finger, and you can use some thin paper like this and basically just put your finger along the edge of where you want to cut, and it'll give you like a sharp line just by using a dirty glove or finger, and it'll create your line. So right in here where the brace is, this is all hidden. I can't get a marker or anything behind to draw this curvature, and since we're butt welding it, it needs to be pretty exact. So by doing that, I now have all those little inconsistencies drawn over, and we can transfer them over. So basically just using this as a curve template. But now you can see that nice sharp line. We can cut that with a pair of scissors and lay this piece on top of some metal, trace it out. We're going to leave the bottom flat edge long, and then we'll trace it from there and leave extra to roll the edge under. But this is the hardest part, is getting that shape that we cut transferred into the metal and exact. So that's a good way to do it without any fancy tools or anything but a dirty hand or finger. So we got our panel all cut down. I just cut a straight edge here at the bottom, basically, with the snips, and we have our pattern here. Now you may notice that the metal is quite a bit larger than what we actually need, and the reason for that is we need to put a wire edge along the whole entire bottom of this, and I don't want to have such a small part and be trying to hammer an edge over. We'll probably end up wrecking or bending the part that we're welding just from hammering that edge over. So what I'm going to do is leave the part big. We're going to do a hem and edge all the way at the bottom here with the TIG wire inside of it. And then once that's good, we could set it down, make sure everything's good, and trace this shape along the top of it where it's actually going to get welded. But that's a good way to do it. So we'll get the back of this sprayed with some etch primer where we're actually trapping the wire in, and then we can start hammering the edge over and get everything ready to go. Everybody doesn't prime their TIG rod before welding. Totally normal. All right, so we need to basically get some marks for where we're setting our rolled edge for the wire edge. And you need to remember that the wire edge needs to wrap all the way, the metal needs to wrap all the way around the piece of wire and get trapped in around it. So oftentimes, and I even make this mistake where I will basically just look at the width of the wire and scribe a line like that. But no, it has to actually wrap around, come back, and smash around the wire, so you need to make plenty of room. Now, because we have our panel way too big, it actually gives me extra material, which makes my life a little easier. So I'm going to scribe a line on either end here, a little scribe tool, just on either end, and we're going to put it in the break and just partially break this line to get us started. Instead of using that little tool that I showed you guys last time, that's good for doing small parts or things that have an unusual shape to it that you can't put it in a break. But because this is going to be starting out basically flat, we can start our bend for our roll in the break, and then we can crush it with the hammer, and it makes it a little easier to do. All right, so we got it broke. I went over 90, so we have a little trough to just lay our wire in, and we don't have to fight clamping it in place. Nice thing why I use the brake, you can see here, ignore the top of the panel isn't cut, that's just roughed out, but you have a nice sharp line that consistent along the bottom that's really nice by using the brake. So now when we trap that wire over, we're going to keep that nice smooth edge there, and we don't have to adjust it with a body hammer afterwards. So really nice when you're doing a flat panel. Boom, that is so nice. Look at that, beautiful edge. All right, got it cut really accurately on the line. We're ready to go. It's in place. We can just zap it in and got a nice finished product. Back to reality. We have to cut this very slowly by hand with the snips the correct way. It fits awesome. You know what that means? It's time to weld. All right, so I got this lower patch all welded in, everything ground smooth. I hit it with the DA real quick just to blend it all in and get it roughed in, and it's looking really good. I'm really happy with how this lower edge came in, and once this thing's got all the body work done and is painted, you won't even be able to tell. It should all look pretty darn factory. So that's most of the major body work done on this thing. I got to do a couple more little patches along the bottom edge on the other side. But at this point, we're just about ready to start tackling some other things on the project. We need to work on fixing the deck lid here that's all dented up, the front fender, and then also we're going to work on doing some stuff to make this thing actually move under its own power, which will be really, really awesome. So we're going to probably switch it up throughout this project, keep it interesting, and hopefully we'll get this thing going here really soon. Appreciate you guys watching the video and following along. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you guys want to follow this project and everything else that's going on in the Eastwood world. And you can click the links down below to see all the tools that we used in today's video, learn more about them, and grab one for yourself. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.